Hello everyone, thanks for joining MeteoMark's Weather here. I'm meteorologist Mark Molnar. We're going to be taking a look at the tropics, and there's going to be a big surge of tropical waves and moisture over the next week or two here. We're going to explore the possibility if any of these waves could become any sort of tropical storms. And we're also going to look and see what the effects of all this tropical moisture and how far north it could make it here into eastern North America. And some of these waves out here into the Atlantic could get quite potent. And we'll also take a look at your severe weather update and all your weather. Let's get into it. All right, so starting off here with the European model, and we will transition over towards the GFS. So look at this. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of tropical waves. Thankfully, the dust is going to be really in full swing here. And I'm going to talk more about that here in a couple minutes in the video. But look at this. We're still going to deal with a very large intertropical convergence zone south of the Cape Verde Islands here, all the way through the Caribbean. This is getting us through the 18th here. So as we get into Thursday, look at our big Bermuda high. It's just camped out in the same location. And as we continue in time here, here's the rest of the 18th into the 19th. Yes, we do have some flare-ups, one near Jamaica and Central America, Honduras here. So let's just back that up just a second there. There we go. So here's the 19th at 2 a.m. We do have some shower and thunder shower activity that will be moving through Jamaica and the Cayman Islands with this wave. Another wave moving through the Lesser Antilles as we approach the end of the week, Friday into Saturday. And then look at this big wave south of the Cape Verde Islands here, and then another big one coming off the coastline here. So we're going to be watching this very closely. I just want to show you another tropical wave will be moving north towards Puerto Rico. It looks like these waves are moving at a very big clip here. So within a day or two, they're covering at least a couple hundred miles each. But look at this. As we go out in time, you can see a lot of activity. Nothing really developing, at least in the next 7 to 10 days that I can see. But as we head through the weekend here, here's the 20th, we got a big tropical wave here moving through the Bahamas and towards South Florida. Another one here in Central America producing a lot of heavy rains. One camped out right over Jamaica. And then we got three big ones out here south of the Cape Verde Islands. And that's just going to continue westward here. Now, look at what's going to happen here. A lot of these tropical waves are going to feed right into the Caribbean. And as this high retreats a little bit to the east here, look what's going to start to happen. This is going to open up all these tropical waves and all this moisture onto North America, essentially. And look what starts to happen around the 22nd here. This is a lot of tropical moisture here, heading right through the Caribbean islands, as you can see, all the way through the Lesser Antilles. It's almost as if somebody turned on, the spigot, the hose here, and it's just going to continue to just surge here to the west. Look at this one out here, this wave. Looks very potent. So this is through, as we get into next week, things are going to start to get a little bit more interesting. Look at the Gulf here. This is crazy. Right off the East Coast, all the way up to southeastern New England here. Big waves out here coming off the coast of Africa. Another one moving through Trinidad, Tobago here around the 23rd. It's going to be interesting to see our rainfall map here in the tropics. I'm going to pull the European one up and we'll see. But look at this. This is a massive wave. So if this stays far enough south away from all this dust to the north, you might actually get some development towards the end of the month. But look at this. This is going to be like surges of tropical moisture, and I'll talk more about this in my synoptic outlook several minutes from now in the video. But look at this. This is like a tremendous amount of moisture here just traversing across the entire Atlantic. Now, you notice right in the main development region, we have quite a bit of lack of activity just north of the ITCZ here. That's with all that dust. But look at that. Even through the Lesser Antilles through the 25th here, we have some pretty big waves moving through. Look at this. We're just lining them up here. And all this moisture here across the western part of the Gulf of Mexico by this time. Let's just go a few more frames here. And things just continue to get more interesting. This little wave here looks pretty potent between Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. We have a big one here into the Western Gulf. And look at this one out here. We'll have to keep an eye on these because as we head towards August, things are really going to start to come together. And before we continue, if you made it this far and you liked the video, smash that like button. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button so you're alerted with all my future weather updates. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. It's great to have you. Let's continue. All right, so taking a look at the GFS here. We'll compare it to the European one. Here is the, we have a couple waves rounding about this big old Bermuda high here. There's all those synoptic systems that'll be stalling out here across the southeast. But look at some of these waves out here. They're showing up just as they were on the European model. Even a little bit more stronger here on the GFS initially. So as we continue through the 18th here into the 19th, you can see what's happening. Most of our activity is going to be out here south of the Cape Verde Islands. We got some waves moving through the Caribbean islands in Central America. Now, let's see if the GFS really turns on the hose, so to speak, here with the tropical moisture. So let's see here as we head through the 23rd. One thing the GFS really does pick up on a bit here is this dust. And you can see these grayish colors. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. GFS is a bit more optimistic on the dust. But once these waves get past the dust, look what they start to do. And there's that surge of tropical moisture here into the north central Gulf right around the 25th. So, yeah, the GFS isn't going bonkers as much as the European model is. But still, we're looking at some pretty deep tropical moisture here. Look at this funneling all the way up into eastern North America. And some big waves that we'll have to watch that may run up the east coast here. But out here in the intertropical convergence zone, the GFS says that looks like some of these waves will be battling a lot of dust. You can see the last frame here. Look what's going on. This dust is really spreading across much of the Atlantic here, but still, we got some decent tropical waves here. Sea surface temperatures anomalies here. Look at what the dust is doing out here, especially by the Cape Verde Islands here. Yeah. It's really doing some good work out here. But look at out here, Eastern Caribbean, and then the Gulf is warming back up as well, the East Coast. So we still have a lot to contend with here with high sea surface temperatures. All right, so let's take a look at the GFS here on our mid-layer dry air, thanks to Tropical Tidbits here. Look at the surge of moisture here. Yeah, it seems like looking at this moisture plume here in mid-layers, you can see where the dust is. Really camping out here across the MDR. But look at the ITCZ here. Intertropical convergence zone is still going crazy even on the GFS. And look at the surge of moisture here. So the GFS is still showing similar to the Euro. It's not going as crazy, but this is still a lot of moisture at mid-layers for this time of year. And look at these waves coming off the coast. They still have to get through this dust, though. And the dust can have very detrimental effects on these waves. But look at this. This is by Friday, July 26th. Look at this, just pluming across parts of Florida here. And tropical moisture surging all the way up through the eastern part of North America here. That is some crazy amount of tropical moisture. So, yeah, the dust is doing its job out here, but it still looks pretty active. Now let's take a look at the Euro. So here is our European run here as we go through the rest of the week. Now look at, the European's showing quite a bit of dry air at mid to upper layers here with the dust. Still some big tropical waves out here south of the Cape Verde Islands. Now let's see how this unfolds as we head through the weekend here, July 21st, the 22nd. Yeah, look at this surge of moisture across eastern North America, the Gulf, Northwest Caribbean, the Bahamas just open up here. Now, this is kind of curious. There's an area of low pressure trying to form here between the Lesser Antilles and the Cape Verde Islands. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But the dust does start to do its work here. So these systems do have to make it through the dust, but it is interesting that the European is trying to initialize some of these low-pressure systems. And look at that surge of moisture just continuing up the U.S. East Coast. So if we take a look at weekly, our CFS run as we get into next week through the first part of August here, so pretty much the end of July. Look at that surge of moisture here, and then across the Caribbean and ITCZ as well. And look at this. Let's just back that up. Here's the first week of August. Yeah, we're continuing with those positive precipitation anomalies here. That's just going to continue throughout August, all the way up the East Coast here, and then the Northeast Caribbean Islands really getting in on the act. Now, this is kind of curious as we get into This is mid-August here. Look what it's kind of insinuating here. It's kind of insinuating that we're going to start to dry it out here into the Western Gulf and Caribbean, and we're going to really push the moisture and the tropical waves towards the U.S. East Coast. I caution you that it's all dependent on Bermuda High and areas of low pressure and fronts, but that is kind of a curious thing. And this model has continued to push that further to the east, so maybe we'll have some fish storms here towards the end of August. That would be optimistic. And if we take a look at the CANSIPS model here, this is August. Look at how crazy it's going here. So this model's a bit further west with the moisture, as it has been for several weeks now. And then as we propagate through the rest here into September, look at this. Yeah, if the CANSIPS model turns out to be true, we're looking at like record breaking. We still continue, but we start to dry it out here October across parts of the Gulf of Mexico and off the southeast coast, where we're just still continuing. We could be looking at named storms continuing all the way into November and then into December here, looking across the Caribbean and the intertropical convergence zone. So as we get into the Caribbean here, what is going on? Here's our European run. There's going to be a lot of precipitation here across Central America. This is where we're going to be looking at 100 to 150 millimeters, upwards of 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 inches of rain. Now here around Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, we're looking at a lot less, 40 to as much as 70 millimeters. So about 1.5 inches on average here of rainfall. But look at Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, even the Bahamas here. We could be looking at 80 to as much as 100 millimeters here. So not too shabby with 3 to 4 inches. So getting into the Eastern Caribbean here, what is going on, everybody? Yeah, as we head through the weekend, we're going to see a generalized 30 to 50 millimeters here, nothing more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. But as we get into next week, that's where we're going to start to see the surge of tropical moisture. This does take us through Friday, July 26. But yeah, even beyond this, we're going to be looking at a big surge of tropical moisture. So here we go for severe weather for your Wednesday, the midpoint of your week. Yeah, we're going to be looking at a slight risk of severe weather here across parts of western New England, all the way down to the mid-Atlantic here into the yellow zones, and a marginal risk here into the green. So watch out, damaging wind, large hail, and isolated tornadoes on your Wednesday. And here we go for your Thursday. Things really quiet out. The only area is a marginal risk here across the west central plains. As we take a look at our future radar here, yeah, we're going to still be dealing with those stronger thunderstorms here across parts of the Northeast. Thankfully, they will be moving out, so watch out eastern parts of central and eastern New England here later on overnight. That will be a thing of the past, though. We'll turn our attention to the central and southern plains here. Now, as you can see here, thankfully, we're moving all of this severe weather out of the Northeast, at least for tonight. Into Wednesday, we do it all over again. Look at this. Yeah, this is where we start to see a lot of activity. Once again, some of these storms may contain damaging wind, large hail, and isolated tornadoes, and it really gets cranking around 2 p.m. around the I-81 corridor of New York and Pennsylvania, 3 p.m. You see, look at this. Your Lake Erie region up to Lake Ontario, you kind of skip out on this because you're behind the front at this point. That's some great news. You're going to notice some lower humidity and northerly winds. Welcome it. And look at this. Your turn will be coming in the Northeast, but you do have to get through these stronger thunderstorms, 5 p.m. on Wednesday the 17th here. Look at these storms just cranking here. Some of these could be strong back towards Pittsburgh and Columbus and Dayton, but this is where the big show is going to be, the leading edge, all the way over to New Jersey, Vermont, the Hudson Valley of New York, Catskills, Poconos. Look at this. This is 7 p.m. Look at this. This is quite some intense storms moving right through the New York City area between 8 and 9 o'clock, right out. And then it does start to fall apart as it reaches the marine layer here, more stable air. And as you can see, that's just going to continue into the overnight as we get that cold front pushing things out. We might get a flare up here up into Maine and New Brunswick. Look at this, some of the stronger thunderstorms up here towards 4 a.m. on the 18th, Thursday. And look at this, as we continue across Arkansas here, eastern Oklahoma, this is where we're going to start to see some stronger thunderstorms try to develop here. And look at the mid-Atlantic and the southeast here for your Wednesday. So let's just cruise through Wednesday here. Yeah, the 17th. You can see, thankfully, a lot of this will be offshore, but then we do start to get redevelopment here into eastern North Carolina. Look at this. So, yeah, some of these storms could pack a punch, as well as a lot of rain. So this is going to be more rain on top of the rain we've seen, but many areas are actually dry too and could use it. So look at this here into the northeast. There it is, 10 p.m. on Wednesday evening. That line moving through South Jersey here. And then look at this, clearing out here for the Carolinas as well. All right, so we pick up where our future radar left off here. So we're heading on into Thursday and Friday here. Look what's going on. That area of low pressure is being pushed off the coast by this big old high. You can see it's going to stall out here across the southeast, just south of the Carolinas here and through South Carolina. It does start to stall and come back north, however, towards the 19th. So for your Friday, we're going to be looking at shower and thunderstorm activity coming back north here. And you can see into the weekend, unfortunately, we're looking at a kind of like a pattern here where we're seeing a lot of rain. So it could end up ruining some of your weekend plans. We're also going to watch another storm system here across the plains. That could bring some severe weather across parts of the plains here and some heavy rain. But as we head through the 21st into the 22nd here, we're just going to watch all this tropical moisture here from the tropics, the Gulf, and off to the Atlantic here. Just continue to congeal here with our stalled out frontal boundaries that hang up here across the southeast. And many areas have been dry. I know plenty of places from Florida all the way up to the Appalachians and in the interior parts of the southeast as well. And look at this 22nd. This is right into next Monday. Look at the moisture locked up here across the southeast. This is a lot of tropical moisture. It will be welcomed by many people, however, because you desperately need the rain in a lot of areas. But look at the push here towards the north. This is kind of interesting. We're really going to bring this return flow around this Bermuda high, and it's going to open up the tropics here, as I mentioned in the tropical update here. And look at this. That is insane amount of moisture through the 23rd here. We are really bringing that moisture northward here. So from the Gulf, we're just opening up the Gulf for business here, and look at this heavy tropical rains all the way up into the Ohio Valley, into the northeast. And let's see if that continues here as we go out in time. Here's the 24th, 25th. Look at that high. It's actually pushing closer to the coast here, and look at this just surge of moisture. Here's a tropical wave. It's just going to continue to dot the eastern half of North America here. In the last few frames, you can see here towards the 26th, we continue to have moisture here spinning up the East Coast. All right, so let's take a look at the GFS rainfall amounts through the rest of this week into the weekend. You can see where the lion's share of the rain is going to be: eastern North Carolina and South Carolina, and into the north central part of the Gulf Coast region and inland here. So the Gulf Coast states, and then here into the plains as well, and into the northeast. A lot of this will be falling Wednesday, so another 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. But here across parts of the southeast, you could be looking at 2 to 4+ inches of rain. So if we take a look at the European run here through the end of the week, look what's happening here. European model is showing a generalized 1/2 to as much as 1.25 inches here, especially in the purple zones. But here's the deal for the Outer Banks, North Carolina, inland here towards South Carolina as well. This is where the tropical moisture is going to camp out, 2.5 to as much as 4.5+ inches of rain. And as we head into next week, it's just going to get a lot wetter. In fact, the European model is going crazy with all this tropical moisture. Look at the expanse of even into parts of the mid-Atlantic here, where we could be seeing widespread 4 to 7 inch amounts through next week. So let's look at the Canadian weather here. That storm system for Tuesday and Wednesday is going to be moving out here. So look at this. Let's just get through the 17th here. We're still going to be dealing with some shower and thunderstorm activity here across parts of Ontario and Quebec, especially New Brunswick as well. Look at that as we head throughout the overnight hours of Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. We're still dealing with it here. Low pressure winding up over the Canadian Maritimes, but look at that. We do start to bring another system in, unfortunately, here by the weekend. So we're going to just line up this upper level low that's hanging out here around Hudson Bay, and it's going to continue to push these cold fronts south and eastward here across Ontario and Quebec. This is the 21st at 5 p.m. We move that low pressure out, and look at that. Thankfully, next week, high pressure's building in for the 23rd here into the 24th and the 25th. We do get a little flare-up of shower and thunderstorm activity here into southern Ontario, Quebec, even northern Quebec as well, as we see that unsettled pattern continuing, but that's some welcome news for the rain. And then look at this, by the 26th, we start to get high pressure building into eastern Canada. We do have an area of low pressure around Saskatchewan, however. So here we are in the Eastern Pacific. We have a 40% chance of development. This is good news, though, because it's going to be a fish storm, and it's really not going to amount to much through the rest of this week. Out into the Western Pacific, what do we got going on here? We have a lot of monsoon-type moisture in intertropical convergence zone. Look at this, though. We're starting to dry it out here into Eastern Asia, though. So we're starting to get past that monsoon point. We still have some little surges of tropical moisture from time to time. But look at this. As we head towards the 20th, I told you to watch from the Philippines here westward to Vietnam, over to Taiwan and South China Sea here. We're going to have to watch this area because look at this. We have an area that's still showing up here on our European model. Development around the 21st into the 22nd. We could actually have a storm developing. Look at this. Here it is. This run of the European model really showing, grabbing a hold of something here towards the 23rd into the 24th, and we could have not only a tropical storm, but potentially a typhoon. So areas from Southeast Asia, China, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, all of you should be watching this potential. This actually brings it up into a very populated area of China towards Shanghai. So this would be very troubling. This would cause a lot of problems as it heads right up here along the eastern part of China. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? Check this out.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So let's take a look at temperatures through the rest of the week. Look what's coming, everyone. 70s and even some low 80s. That's going to be welcome. Look at the mid-Atlantic here, mid to high 90s into Texas. And then the west continues to bake into Thursday here. Yeah, you're baking out here, but look what's happening back east. We're even seeing some 70s here across Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania. We're really scouring out the humidity as well. And look at, we're pushing that 90-degree line deep into the south here into Friday. Look at this. We're seeing low 80s down and through the Appalachians here. Even the 80s towards North Carolina and parts of South Carolina. That's welcome, and widespread 70s across the Midwest here as we get into Saturday. Look at this. This is just beautiful. It does start to warm back up mid to high 80s in some of the parts of the mid-Atlantic here, but it's nowhere near as bad as out west here where it's hundreds all the way up to Washington State into Sunday. Look at this. A big cool down in the plains. 70s all the way down to Kansas and Missouri. That's crazy, but that's nice. And even here into the northern New England as well. And the last day here on our scale, Monday, look at this. Yeah, even Texas getting down into the 80s here. That's crazy. But we're going to start to lower those temperatures a bit. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Zipper, Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. If we take a look, the rest of your week, Wednesday, we still have a chance of severe thunderstorms. The cold front will be finally moving through. So early to mid-afternoon, that's when we're really going to start to see damaging wind, large hail threat, maybe an isolated tornado up towards the mid to upper 80s. But temperatures will be crashing later in the day. Look at this for Thursday and Friday, barely making it above 80. Much lower humidity. Even into the weekend, we do get towards the mid to high 80s, but the humidity is going to be much lower and no chances of rain. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.